call our meeting for the Erie Land Bank to order for June 17th. And I'd like to start off by seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda along with the minutes from our May 20th meeting.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All in favor of the agenda and approving minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're going to change up the order a little bit today so that we can accommodate our guest who's here to walk us through the financial statements from last year. So, Aaron, I'll turn it over to you if you want to make any comment or...
Thanks, Chris. So we have Natalie from Felix and Glucker here to present the 2023 audit and answer some questions about the 2022 audit that were raised last month. So I will hand it off to Natalie.
Thank you.
So we'll just start with the 2023 audit, and then we can talk about the question, because that's going to be the same in the letter for the 23 that we'll be presenting. And then if you have any questions overall, we can go over those, okay? So on page 3 of the financial report, that is the independent auditor's report. It starts right out of the gate there with the opinion, which that we've audited the financial statements of the land bank as of December 31st, 2023, and that it is, in our opinion, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects financial position of the land bank at that time. The basis for our opinion was that we conducted our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, and that our responsibilities are further presented on the second page, which is under the auditor's responsibilities section. The responsibilities of management, that management is responsible for the fair presentation of these statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, which includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of the controls to present and the fair presentation of these statements. On page 4 is that auditor's responsibility section, and goes through that we are to obtain reasonable assurance that the statements are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and is included in our opinion, which was a clean opinion. On page 7, we have the balance sheet of the land bank at December 31st. The total assets there, $201,188. The liabilities against those, $47,887, leaving us unassigned fund balance of $153,301. The item up above, the unrestricted, you'll see the unearned revenue went down to 0, and the restricted cash for the grant, that money was used in 2023, and those restricted funds will be transferred over to cover the costs that were paid out of the general operations, and that'll happen in 2024. On page 8, we go over the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in the fund balance. The total revenue for the year, $440,482. Most of that is in the funds up there. The services, the Erie County Land Bank services of $384,000, $26,000 from our proceeds from the property sales, $29,000 is the grant revenue that was recognized this year, and $34,000 in the interest income. Our total expenditures, $438,000. Most of those, as you can see, in the administrative services, which in comparison to 2022 is up due to the additional work that the land bank had done during 2023, and the maintenance of $261,000. So overall, the excess of revenues over expenditures for the year, $2,169. So it's pretty much
I have a question.
Yes.
Can we go back to page 5? Just could you break that simply down and tell me what that means?
The other
Page
matters?
5.
Yeah. Usually when you have governmental funds, they have what they call a management discussion and analysis that goes through a wording and a write-up of the statements that I just went over, and that usually precedes the statements. The land bank has never presented that, and so we're just required to put in there that we've omitted that.
Is that usually the way things are done? I'm asking.
What's that?
Is that the way things are usually done that way with government agencies?
For some of the smaller ones, yes. I mean, some of the larger ones, no, but for the smaller ones, yes.
Okay.
The footnote themselves really haven't changed too much. On page 11 and 12, it does list out the properties held for the development or resale, and that lists out all of the properties that are held at December 31st, 2023. The letter that is in the back there is the representations to you, the board. I think this was one of the areas that had the question from 2022s as well. Just kind of going through that, talks about right out of the gate there, the responsibilities for the audit, the timing and scope, the compliance for independence, and on that second page there, the significant risks identified. As part of our process, we just have to identify if there's any significant risks within the audit. As part of our auditing standards, revenue recognition is one that we have to always have, and management override as well is usually one of those. So those are usually the standard ones. If there were any other risks that we identified in talking with management, and we send out a memo to you folks at the beginning that asks if you have any concerns or issues. You as the board and as management should be identifying risks as you go along as well. So if there were any that you came up with and brought to our attention, that those would probably be added in there as well.
And you also, is another type of a letter, recommendations, for systemic changes, or and are there any recommendations, or
No,
did you have
actually-
privately with our staff, for example?
No, actually, for 2023, much better year. 2022 had that split
Yeah, okay.
between the previous software and going online. Obviously, that was the delay in
Okay.
getting that 2022 audit out. But I think some of the items that we had recommended then, and at that time, we've gone over and we've talked with April and Aaron, just setting a written document to document those policies as to how we're going to track those properties. For example, when we purchase them, are those costs included in that, or do we recognize those when we go to sell? Those types of things. And there is a document. I don't think it's actually approved yet, right, April? It's just was kind of a laid out document.
Yeah, what they put together?
Yeah. So, but there is that policy that's written now, and I think, obviously overall, we're here in June, not June of the following year. So, so some of those policies and procedures to get to that point are improved.
Okay, excellent, good to hear. Thank you, April.
Yeah, we really, as far as estimates, those are usually with the properties. Uncorrected, corrected misstatements, we really didn't have any. Typically with the procedure now, I think April's going through and developing those entries, passing those past Baker Tilly, and that keeps us independent and separate and gives her some confidence and that those entries are where they should be, and then getting to you folks as well. So I think overall, we're in a much better place than we were in 2022. Were there any other questions with 2023 or 2022?
No, just more of a comment. Good to hear that things are a little smoother and
Yes.
going in the right direction, and so thank you
For all of us,
Thanks.
yes, and we appreciate all the help that
to the staff's
we've got.
efforts as well, so
Yes.
thank you.
Yes. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
Panel have any other questions?
Do you need a motion to accept the audit as presented?
So we're moving to accept 22 and 23, correct? So I would seek a motion to accept the audited financial statements for 2022 and 2023.
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Thank you, Chuck.
Second.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor? Aye. Okay, there you have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody stay cool out there.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we'll jump back into the normal agenda here. That takes us to the current finance report. April, you want to update us?
Yes, so now that we've gotten over the major bumps in the road and things are a little smoother, we have the balance sheet for May of 2024, and it's showing that we have total bank accounts of just under 130,000. Right now, we are showing properties held for sale at a little over 35,000. On the profit and loss, it is showing a net income of negative $22,246.95. That is because we missed the April requisition. Aaron and I were out of town at a conference. That was actually just submitted last week for them. And then I have a list of the checks that were dispersed for May of 2024 as well.
Okay, so that continues to be a timing issue then, showing that negative
It is.
number.
Usually, there aren't too many skipped in a year, maybe usually just one, or if theirs gets postponed for some reason or canceled altogether, but it's usually paid within
Yeah.
40 days.
County and bank, given they like to swing their meetings a little bit, kind of on holidays, and given Memorial Day, they shifted it a week earlier, which kind of caused a little bit of an issue with us getting everything prepared for that.
I have a question. So the accounting fees, are those fees that are charged by the redevelopment authority?
Which form are you looking at?
The
The profit and loss?
$4,650?
No, so that was the fee that we paid for the audit to be performed. That was the 2022 audit.
Okay, thank you.
We're tracking pretty close to our budget then, right? We're not straying too far from,
No.
We're pretty much right on track, so,
Yeah.
which we can probably pull budget and budget first actual for next month.
I think maybe, next month being halfway through the year, if we could just see, budget versus current, that might be helpful once a year to make sure we're just tracking along where we should be.
Sure.
Because I know you presented it to us, and it was a long 6 months ago, and I don't remember like I used to. Any questions on the finance report? Good.
I'll make a motion to accept the finance report as presented.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, April. Takes us to citizens' comments. Do we have citizens today that wish to comment? Citizens' comments? Okay. All right, Aaron takes it to the report of the executive director.
All right, thank you. Not much of a report today. Just want to tell the board, Jake and I did have the chance to attend the PA Land Bank Network Summit back on June 4th, I believe it was. It was the first time the PA Land Bank Network had held a summit in almost 10 years. So it was good to get all of the individuals in the land banks from across the state in one location. Jake and I both agreed that we probably could have filled an entire day, if not more, with seminars and sessions and networking. 4 hours just seemed a little short. We did a substantial amount of networking afterwards. Presentation went real well with Ashley from Westmoreland on engaging and communicating with residents. So that was well received by the participants at the Land Bank Network. Received a lot of questions, handed out some cards, got some follow-up emails in regards to our engagement and communication with neighborhood groups and other organizations as far as our activities. So that went really well. I also want to apologize to the board for the light agenda this month. The authority is currently going through some staffing changes, and that went along with the holiday vacation schedules. It just became a little bit difficult to throw together and make some of the changes that we're working on. So I hope to have a little bit more of a robust agenda for you all come July. So again, I apologize and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. All right, we'll move right to solicitor's report. Gene?
Good afternoon, Board. Happy to report we are finishing up a number of transactions The most recent of which was this morning, the sale of 212 East 30th Street to Kyle Williams. She was a next-door neighbor, so we closed on that transaction, vacant lot to her, and then we did a combination deed to integrate her house next door and the vacant lot together. Also, what I'm doing for her is looking at the assessed value of her home to see if I could file a tax assessment appeal, because the lot is significantly higher on a tax assessed value than what she purchased it for. So I am speaking with the solicitor, David Rhodes, at the assessment office to find out, okay, if I look at her house, now the deed and the lot are together, how do they work that out before I file the tax assessment appeal on her? I don't want her to commit to something where all of a sudden, hey, Gene, the house is assessed at a rate that I'm happy with. Now, when you've combined the lot to it and tried to bring the lot down to only $500, they're looking at the house and the lot, and it may not be beneficial for her. So I'm doing that due diligence before I walk her into some type of a tax increase. I don't think that it'll happen, but I want to make sure before I file that. We have that till the end of July, so I spoke to her about that this morning and that process as well. So she seemed to be pleased, but again, she's a little reluctant to file a tax assessment appeal if it's not going to be to her benefit with regard to the house next door. So that is, again, good news. We had a closing, I think it was last week or maybe even the week before. So this is, so we're pushing these through. I also want to bring the board up to speed with regard to 445 East 5th and 614th East 5th Street, and that's a number of parcels. These are the files. When the transition took place from a retiring paralegal to a new paralegal, these, quite frankly, were put in a drawer that we weren't exactly certain where they were, and it slipped through the cracks during the transition period. I have reviewed them. I've gotten updated. We have located all of the parties that need to be served as part of that quiet title action that is being filed here. It's prepared. It's getting filed this week as we speak. What I also am in the process of doing is reaching out to Laura Mott. She's the attorney for Best, and say, hey, look, these are empty lots. Why don't we do the transaction that's been delayed? Why don't we do that knowing that I'm going to be finishing the quiet title action and taking care of these so that the title can be conveyed into them on the condition, and again, knowing that I'm going to finish these within the next 60, have a court order finalizing everything within 60 days. So I think that would go a long way in making Best happy and know that, hey, look, we didn't just completely fall asleep at the switch. We were delayed and just temporarily appease them until I have that final order. So that's what I'm looking for, and I'll be able to provide the board and also Aaron and his staff with that process. So that's where we are. I wanted to let the board know, especially in light of last month.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think as long as everybody knows that the process is moving forward now, things happen, and that's okay. And
I don't want it to. I don't want them to happen. That's embarrassing, and it shouldn't happen, but it did, and I'm here to make it right.
yeah, well, thank you for that. And as long as they're aware that we're working it through the process, we'll get there. So thank you for that, and also thank you for looking out for those unintended consequences. We don't want to set somebody up who's purchasing a property, for a surprise.
Yes.
With their tax bill.
Right.
As we're trying to move these properties. So it's good to hear. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Any other comments or questions for our solicitor? Hearing none, I think we can move on. Gene, thank you. Took care of new business, right? We reviewed the audits. So any other business from our executive director?
That is all I have for today.
Okay. Very good. Nice summertime 20-minute meeting. That's good. Panel, any comments, questions?
Good, I'm good.
Okay, then I believe we're wrapped up for today. We'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.